From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Your mission is to support the efforts of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security.
Governor Doug Ducey officially deploys Arizona troops to the border for Operation Guardian Shield.
Plus, the Arizona Supreme Court hands down a decision on in-state tuition for DACA students.
And student activists hold town halls across the valley in hopes of finding common ground on gun control.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Fortessa Latifi.
And I'm Chancellor Johnson. Thank you for joining us.
Operation Guardian Shield is underway at the Arizona border tonight. Governor Doug Ducey officially deployed 225 National Guard members to support the Border Patrol along the U.S.-Mexico border. And Ducey says 113 more members will be on the way tomorrow. Nicole Gutierrez is tracking the latest.
Governor Ducey told reporters that today, this operation is designed to do what Washington has failed to do for too long, secure our southern border. The National Guard troop will be stationed in both the Tucson and Yuma sectors and will be used in any support role responsibilities necessary to free up more Border Patrol agents for their primary security missions. Governor Ducey today took a stand on border safety.
We had a 200% increase in traffic across the border.
Ducey says the National Guard of Arizona will be at the border to support Operation Guardian Shield. President Trump's directive to send a total of 4,000 troops to the border until the wall is built.
They're sent there purely for support. In other words, it's more logistics, it's surveillance, it's repairing fences, it's fixing trucks. It's doing whatever it can in a support way. It is not to apprehend undocumented immigrants. They're not to have any contact with any undocumented immigrants at all.
All sides concede it's a move that's been made before, both under the Obama and Bush administrations.
The people that are suffering the drug overdoses, oftentimes these products are coming over the border and through our state.
The Texas National Guard is now committing 1,000 troops for deployment. New Mexico says it'll support Trump's order, but has not deployed yet. California is still undecided on any border deployment. Arizona's deployment will be paid for federal funds, but under the full direction of Governor Doug Ducey. In the broadcast center, Nicole Gutierrez, Cronkite News.
National Guard troops in Tucson also received their pre-deployment training today. This is a look inside the training at the 162nd Wing as Arizona Air National Guard airmen were briefed on their in-state mission as part of Operation Guardian Shield. They got notes on everything from restraint and respect procedures to drug apprehension policy to preparing for long days in the sun. In 2010, the same unit also helped support border security efforts during Operation Copper Cactus. We have full multimedia coverage on today's Arizona's troop deployment and find us online at cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
The Arizona Supreme Court ruled in a unanimous decision that Arizona colleges cannot offer in-state tuition to students covered under the Deferred Action to Childhood Arrivals program. The ruling makes it illegal for schools like Maricopa Community College and ASU to offer in-state tuition for student dreamers. We spoke to DACA recipient Eder Martinez, who says he is discouraged by the court's unified decision.
It was a unanimous ruling also, so that's very disappointing, and it feels like we're always having to combat a lot of the evil things that are going on in this state. We're always having to start from even below zero, I feel like, and claw ourselves back up.
Late this afternoon, we received a statement from Maricopa County Community College expressing disappointment in the court's decision, calling it troubling for the 2,000 DACA students currently enrolled. Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich said the court's full written opinion is expected by May 14th.
As tension grows along the southern border, several representatives of Mexican presidential hopefuls visited Phoenix, discussing their take on recent developments and the impact of Mexico's next leader on the United States. Lillian Donahue reports.
Muchísimas gracias por este diálogo.
On Saturday night, 5 representatives for Mexican presidential candidates convened at Arizona State University. at times tense when speaking with community members about the upcoming election.
Whatever happens in Mexico absolutely influences what happens in the United States. An example of that is what we saw this week with the call of the National Guard.
Despite their political differences, the Mexican party leaders say the border deployment is not the right move on President Trump's part for future relations between the two countries.
A la Guardia Nacional a la frontera.
It doesn't seem that the answer is to invite the National Guard to the border and going after those who cross illegally. In Mexico, we don't criminalize them.
No criminalizamos.
The representatives were also insistent on continuing free trade and immigration reform, while criticizing Trump's stances.
I'm ashamed of his perspective on North America, but it doesn't bother me because every day I see President Trump farther from the people.
The event's organizing group, Chicanos por la Causa, say the forum was the first of its kind in the United States. The goal was not to promote the candidates across borders, rather educate both U.S. and Mexican nationals.
Also for Mexico to take notice of Arizona and the power and the influence that we have, not only in the elections, but also in the trade.
In Phoenix, Lillian Donahue, Cronkite News.
Election Day in Mexico is July 1st. Voters will be electing a new president to serve a 6-year term.
This morning, President Trump condemned the suspected poison gas attack in Syria and said he will make a decision on potential U.S. action in the next 2 days. Senator John McCain, a critic of the president, insinuated in a statement that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has been motivated by American inaction.
Members of Trans Queer Pueblo and Black Lives Matter's Phoenix gathered at the Phoenix Pride Parade yesterday to protest police presence at the event. Trans Queer Pueblo is a community organization that provides political, economic, and social services to undocumented LGBT people of color. The Phoenix Police Department was ordered to prevent any protesters from interrupting the path of the parade. Members of both organizations rushed the streets. After the event, Trans Queer Pueblo said it was more determined to separate from Pride and establish its own celebration.
The student activists of March for Our Lives are still working on gun reform. They held 2 town halls on opposite sides of the valley this weekend. Reporter Gabriela Becerra starts our team coverage in Gilbert, where residents and lawmakers focused on solutions.
Student activist Jordan Harb says gun rights advocates and gun reform supporters need to find common ground.
Just in that dialogue we found we had common ground.
Harb was one of the several speakers to address the crowd of 100 at an East Valley town hall. March for Our Lives organizers say out of the 10 lawmakers invited, only 4 Democrats showed up to speak on a panel. Senator Sean Bowie fears an upcoming plan from Governor Doug Ducey will not do enough to stop gun violence.
What we would like to see in that plan is not currently in that draft plan. There's nothing about background checks. There's nothing about closing the gun show loophole. There's nothing about banning bump stocks.
Democratic Representative Mitzi Epstein says gun control advocates also want to see more counselors in schools.
We're talking about those who help with social emotional health, not just that we need more academic counselors. I think
the thing is, we need to start focusing on what the problem is.
A woman who identified herself as a Republican at the town hall says society is the problem, not guns. Harp thanked the woman for speaking up.
Yeah, I got much farther than I have with the woman, the lovely woman who showed up today, than I have gotten with the governor and our representatives in the past month.
Phoenix March for Our Lives organizers plan to register 3,000 people as voters by April 20th. That's when students across the country are organizing school walkouts on the anniversary of the Columbine school shooting. In Gilbert, Gabriela Becerra, Cronkite News.
In the West Valley, people lined up one after another to raise their voices for gun reform. Cronkite News reporter Madison Miller explains why people were so passionate about gun violence prevention.
Some of the people that spoke at the town hall in Glendale expressed how guns had changed their lives. Activist Catherine Broski says she has been on edge since the Parkland, Florida school shooting.
We had a fire drill yesterday, and the first thing that went to my mind was that they had a fire, the fire alarm went off in Parkland. When we have events, I organized a walkout at my school, and there are rumors going around that someone was going to shoot it up.
Jerry Hills told the crowd a gun took her younger brother from her.
My younger brother, who was an off-duty police officer, was ambushed and murdered by a man with an assault rifle 24 years ago.
Veteran James Eiler believes gun right advocates are bending the Constitution.
The Second Amendment has been abused in order to propagate further
gun sales and whatnot, and the level of violence, gun violence specifically, that we see has gotten out of hand.
Guadalupe Espatillo is at the town hall to register people to vote. She's frustrated that a lot of people won't engage in the political process, no matter what side of the gun issues they are on.
Would you like to register to vote? It's only a 3-minute process, very quick, very simple. No, not right now. And it's like, we can be the voice for them, but we're not being.
Broski says March for Our Lives organization is hopeful that a rally at the Capitol in 2 weeks will drive the message home.
Show up on April 20th to the Capitol for our die-in.
In Glendale, Madison Miller, Cronkite News.
More than 24 veterans were laid to rest this past weekend with the honor they deserve.
Coming up on Cronkite News, how one group puts their efforts into honoring, finding, and identifying veterans needing a proper burial.
Also, Cronkite News traveled to Puerto Rico, where some people have celebrated the return of electricity. But for one family, electricity is a matter of life or death.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
They were lost and forgotten, but this past weekend, more than 24 veterans were laid to rest with the honor they deserve. Gabriel Gamino takes us to Marana for this moving ceremony.
This is their home now, where everyone can come together and honor them and just be blessed by them.
29 once unidentified and unclaimed veterans from southern Arizona now have a final resting place at the Arizona Veterans Memorial Cemetery in Marana, Arizona. The remains received full military honors, which included a last roll call.
Black, John Michael, United States Marine Corps, Vietnam.
And the missing man formation flyover. Antonia Gonzalez, a mother to a retired Army veteran, said, "The service is much more than veterans getting interred, but a reminder to veterans that they're not alone."
The veterans need to know that they have a place and they're not forgotten, because we leave no one behind, no one.
The interment of the veterans also meant much more to David DeGard, a Marine Corps veteran.
It gives me closure. I've lost a lot of friends in my military time, so it helps with the healing process.
The group that made this possible is the Missing in America Project, whose purpose is to locate, identify, and inter the unclaimed cremated remains of veterans throughout the nation.
It's amazing how many veterans out there are died, and then they don't have anybody to take care of their remains, right? So this is amazing what the Missing in America Project does by locating these remains and then interring them, giving them full military honors. It's an outstanding effort.
Founder and executive director of the project, Fred Salanti, says that the project all started for one reason.
Nobody should have to pass alone after they've served our country.
In Marana, Arizona, Gabriel Gamino, Cronkite News.
The services are held twice a year in the spring and in the fall.
Nearly 7 months after Hurricane Maria cast communities into darkness, residents in the central mountain village of Ciales have something to celebrate. Tonight, reporter Olivia Richard, who traveled to Puerto Rico, takes on one family's journey of life without power.
Some families in Puerto Rico are celebrating the return of something they never thought would come back, the electricity. I spent time with one family for whom every day without power was a matter of life or death.
A flow of water over here and another over there, and the living room began flooding, and so did the kitchen and everywhere, and all I was worried about was Melissa. I spent the time of the hurricane sitting on the sofa with my daughter. The entire world was sleeping and snoring, and Melissa, her brother, and I stayed up till the morning.
The night Hurricane Maria swept through the small mountain town of Ciales is a moment in time Martha Rivera says she'll never forget. That night, in addition to losing power, she almost lost her daughter.
There was a moment when she started coughing, and she didn't stop. I was afraid. I had to suction the fluid from her throat, but there was still fluid.
Doctors diagnosed Melissa with severe scoliosis, cerebral palsy, and a seizure condition when she was just a child. Since the storm, caring for her disabled daughter has been much more difficult.
With the hurricane, our lives totally changed. Currently, we do not know what to do. We need a strong generator because she needs AC 24/7. Her life depends on it. She uses suction machines and therapy machines.
The devices that keep Melissa alive rely on power, something the family hasn't been with for more than half a year. The Rios Rivera family says every day without electricity is the continuation of a nightmare.
My biggest fear is that I stay sleeping and when I wake up, she's not breathing anymore. That's why I don't sleep.
For many families in Puerto Rico's mountain communities, generators have become a necessary yet expensive part of life.
It's 4 times more to pay for gas than the monthly electric bill.
The family relies on 2 generators, one on loan by a relative who fled to the States, the other more than 14 years old, and according to Martha, it's due to fail at any moment.
My husband, what he receives from Social Security is $700 a month. That is why he wakes up in the morning, and the money that he makes that day is the same that he uses to pay for the gasoline that day.
Frustrated with a system and government many feel are both inefficient and ineffective, Martha says she can't understand why residents in the mountain communities still are without power.
This is not possible. How do some people have light and others don't if there is a necessity? This is an emergency. How is it that we still do not have light? I don't understand.
Caring for Melissa is difficult, but it's a routine that for her mother has become as natural as breathing.
It is a part of me. I don't even need to check the clock to know that she needs to be fed and have her diaper changed. How she is. She's still my daughter and I love her. I adore her. And if I have to give her my last drop of blood, I will.
Still, she prays.
The first thing I do before I go to sleep is I pray. I ask God, Jesus, and the Virgin Mary for her health and for them to take care of her. I wish to have a strong generator that powers the entire house and gasoline to fuel it.
But the answer to her prayers would be to have the electricity returned to her home.
Getting power back will mean everything to me. I will stop hearing the sounds of the generator. I don't have to worry about the gasoline. Complete happiness.
I spoke with the Rios Rivera family right after the power was turned back on, and they said for them it's still a bit surreal. However, Martha says she continues to pray for her neighbors and fellow Puerto Ricans that they will soon get power back as well. In the broadcast center, Olivia Richard, Cronkite News.
The results of the 28th Annual Airline Quality Review are in.
Coming up on Cronkite News, we take a look at what changes resulted in several major airlines rising in the rankings.
And warm temperatures are going to be with us for the next couple of days, but we will have a slight cool down. Stay tuned for your full 7-day forecast.
Bumped from your flight, lost your bags, your plane was late, all common complaints of air travelers, but maybe not as common as they used to be. A report today says major airline performance improved across the board last year. Ariana Bustos brings us a story from our Washington bureau.
This was the scene a year ago today when David Dow was dragged off a United Airlines flight after refusing to give up his seat. While that may have been a low point, major airlines today got the best scores ever in an annual review of airline quality.
The industry is all stepped up. 9 of the 12 airlines we look at got better this year.
Dean Headley, associate professor at Wichita State University, said the 28th annual report ranks airlines on 4 categories: on-time performance, involuntary denied boardings, mishandled baggage, and consumer complaints. Brent Bowen, a professor at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Prescott, said the biggest airlines at Sky Harbor did better, but still have room to improve.
It's big news because our big airline in Arizona is American Airlines. And American is at the bottom of the list for the large mega carriers.
American Airlines improved in all 4 categories, but still ranked 9 out of 12 carriers. American Airlines said in a statement, "We continue to focus on improving our operation and enhancing customer experience. Throughout 2017, we had record on-time departures and on-time arrivals, as well as our lowest rate of mishandled bags and customer complaints." Southwest, another major carrier at Sky Harbor, moved up a notch in the rankings even though its results were mixed. Headley said both American and Southwest could do better, but are still working to improve like everybody else.
Being in the middle of the pack on the airline quality rating just means that this is how that year went. Doesn't mean that it's necessarily altogether bad.
Reporting from Washington, Adriana Bustos, Cronkite News.
Bowen said one of the things driving the improvement in performance is airlines jumping to respond to social media posts and complaints, like that viral video of United passenger David Dow a year ago.
A wildfire that burned 86 acres near Flagstaff has been fully contained as of today. Police believe the fire was started intentionally and have arrested a man on suspicion of sparking the fire by burning yard debris. Steve Carter is being held on a $20,000 bond and faces charges of endangerment, reckless burning, and criminal damage. The fire burned a neighbor's home and outbuildings in the town of Winona, just 16 miles east of Flagstaff.
Wind and heat can be a bad combination. The National Weather Service has issued a red flag warning for fires for most of the Southwest.
Holly, what kind of temperatures can we expect for the rest of the week?
So for the next couple of days, we're going to have temperatures similar to today. Right now in Phoenix, we're at 94 degrees, and with these warmer temperatures is going to come a dry system that is going to bring some wind gusts up in the valley. We're going to have some winds for the next couple of days, so you can expect some breezy days heading in, but this is going to cool down our evenings quite a bit. We're going to drop into the 60s as we head into our evening tonight, so expect some cooler temperatures as we head into that evening. But tomorrow, these temperatures are going to skyrocket right back up. 97 degrees in Phoenix. These temperatures are going to stay with us for the next couple of days. And like I mentioned, Wednesday will as well be at 98 degrees. But then on Thursday, we're going to have a bit of a cool down at 83 degrees. And then Friday, just below 80 degrees. The weekend's going to be beautiful, though, so make sure you get outside and enjoy these cool temperatures. Guys, I'll send it back to you.
Recovering from PTSD can be a lifelong battle for veterans.
Coming up on Cronkite News, why veterans are revving up their adrenaline to help them recover from this disorder.
Officially from 36, and he hooks it in. Arizona State wins. Keeping one deep, and it is caught. Jalen Strong, do you believe
Cronkite News, weeknights at 5 on Arizona PBS.
Veterans are revving up their adrenaline to help relieve the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. Cronkite News reporter Amanda Slee attended Vetdrenaline's drift racing event.
After being wounded in combat in 2009, Jess Manny, U.S. Army veteran, needed something more in his recovery process.
Through all the great things that the medical industry does for us, our veterans, there was always that piece I was missing, and I found it through the adrenaline rush in motorsports.
Manny founded Vetdrenaline to help other vets work through their PTSD.
Sometimes getting that adrenaline rush brings us right back to those environments that we had overseas, but in a controlled, positive way.
U.S. Marine veteran Joanna Sweat got a chance to buckle up as a passenger in a drift car. Sweat works in veteran advocacy, encouraging other vets to seek help. But she avoided her own issues until joining this Vetdrenaline team.
It helps you address the things that you miss from the service, like teamwork, camaraderie, and just kind of that adrenaline of having a mission and moving forward and doing something that civilian life just can't fill the gap.
Most civilians don't get to ride shotgun with a professional drift driver.
The 3 that I got to take had never been in a drift car before, and it completely changed their mind. They said they had no idea the speeds that we got up to, the angle, you know, the tire smoke, and just the horsepower and everything, the whole combination. They said it was just amazing.
I was scared because I didn't understand the concept of just whipping a car around, but when you get in it, it's literally like, it's so awesome. You're like floating, and it's so fast. It's like you're competitive, you're racing, and so that's fun.
Feeling the rush without being in the battle. Ing Chandler, Amanda Slee, Cronkite News.
The next Vetdrenaline event will be a desert challenge on October 12th in Laughlin. And that's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.